Caught in 4K. Okay, welcome to Weebkend, your new favorite anime podcast. I am Sam, I am current host until we figure out how we're going to switch off, blah, blah, blah. I'm here with Caesar and Angie, the boys.
Hello.
So last time after we did our top 5 favorites, we realized that none of them were very recent except for I think Dragon Maid was the most recent. That was 2017, which is 7 years ago now.
I really do.
Yeah. Do you feel old yet?
Been feeling old every day I wake up.
Oh, my back.
I say something.
My back, my pussy, and my sack.
So on this episode, we're gonna talk about more recent anime that we like. We're not gonna go by year; that's too much work. We just all have kind of lists, and we're gonna play fast and loose with it, loosey goosey. Do we want to just pick one and start?
Yeah, go ahead, Sam. Pick your first one.
All right, I'm gonna go with the obvious one for me, which is Frieren Beyond Journey's End. Love that show. It would make my top 10 overall, and I think it's the only one recently that would. Like I mentioned last time, it's one of the few ones where I actually own a volume of the manga. I actually started reading it pretty early on, 2020-ish, I think, and it was right in the middle of when the Bora the Guillotine arc was coming out in the manga. So I was following it the whole way and was really excited when the anime adaptation got announced. Madhouse, which, I think that owes a lot of the anime success to that. So everyone knows, because it's, the biggest recent anime, or one of them, proper fantasy story, emotional kind of beats, good characters, great fight animation. Have you guys gotten around to watching it at all?
I watched the first couple episodes, but I know of it because, in fact, you're the one who recommended the manga to me. So, and every time that there was an update, you were constantly, by the way, there's an update. You need to read it. So, and no diss to you at all because it is a very great recommend. But it's kind of one of those things where I think one of the reasons why I enjoyed it, especially at the beginning, was, you get to see how kind of like the post journey or post adventure for the original group, and how they all kind of go their separate ways. Because you're used to, at least in a lot of series, where you're just meeting these comrades, and then the journey is pretty much the entire story, and then the bonds you make and stuff. And this is kind of like the setting starts off after the fact.
Right, and even for a lot of other shows, it's you never even get to the end. It's just and the adventure has just begun, and then the anime ends.
Yeah, and friendship is magic. But yeah, no, this is kind of one of those things where it already starts off with they've already done the things, and they went their separate ways, and it was sad, especially spoilers, but they get old, except for, Frieren.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Or, she's old, but not aging at the same pace as,
Right.
else.
It's some shows, or some fantasy series, Lord of the Rings talks about it, with, what's her name?
Galadriel?
Thank you. Yeah. It's didn't she have a human lover at some point, and that they died, and she was whatever.
I didn't read the books. I would know.
I don't remember, but it's some series talk about it, but they really go in depth here with the emotional kind of impact of that, losing everyone you ever had any connection to, and the fact that Frieren is emotionally stunted and doesn't realize until later, just what she's lost, and how she didn't really take the time to invest in people, and she feels a whole lot of regret that she doesn't. So she starts this whole new journey to try and, come to terms with that. And, we're so far into it, and she hasn't even really acknowledged the fact that she was in love with the hero. Mm-hmm. And it's it's very clear that he was in love with her. He was very obvious about it. And it's she had feelings for him too. She just didn't really realize it. It's
yeah. It's the thought of now that it hits you, and he's long gone.
Mm-hmm.
Spoilers.
Tragedy.
But it is kind of sad. It's kind of like the one that got away type thing, and that's relatable even for like us.
Right.
Are we not going to talk about the fact that Himmel met her at age 5 and then fell in love with her throughout his entire life till he died at like 50?
Yeah,
She was already 600-700 years old.
I mean, I don't know that it really matters. Like, does it?
Chris Hansen just comes
That
in
is-
and goes.
That is taking Shota to the most extremes of Shota.
I mean,
In Frieren's eyes, he is always going to be a child.
I mean, yeah.
Himmel was a man among men, though.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like I said, when I mentioned in the last episode, there are some things that I enjoy where nowadays we'd be kind of like, against the ick.
I don't think there's ick in this series. Like,
No, it's a good series.
Yeah.
I'm just poking fun at the fact that he was a child when he met her in the woods.
I mean,
I can see people being kind of like, but
The armpit girl.
child.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about armpit girl. Best girl.
Oh, Ubel.
Oh,
Armpit girl. Best girl.
I mean, so like, yeah, Frieren does have like, it's like a whole bunch of like waifu characters that have really like helped sell it to fans. I mean, obviously there's Frieren, who's like, like gremlin elf, and then there's Fern, who's like, mostly like kind-hearted and innocent, except for when she gets mad and pouts, and people love that.
yeah,
And
there's
then-
another reason why I love them, but okay.
Yeah, there are two reasons. But then there's Ubel, who's like, like I can fix her / she can fucking destroy me kind of character. There are others.
I'm
So-
looking all the red flags you're giving.
Yeah, it's so much fan art of them. Like the fan base for Frieren is so horny.
But yeah, okay, but also they are very talented.
True, yeah, it's like it's great when a series like gets just like whole huge fan base and you see like them produce like even I mean especially the non-horny art is like, oh, that's pretty cool, or like these comics are like wholesome and like nice. So you get some of that, but yeah, I think the main reasons why I love Frieren are like similar to why I like Bebop, where it's like slow and contemplative and melancholy, with parts of it are like funny and parts of it have great action, but that's like the focus is more on like the emotion of the story being told.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Plus, there's a fellow MILF enjoyer in there with Sign, the priest. Yeah, my man. All right. One of you two want to pick one next?
I'm going in the opposite direction. An anime that these two I know haven't seen, and probably many haven't seen. Captain Laserhawk, a Blood Dragon remix.
Wait, what?
Exactly.
I have never heard of this.
So you wouldn't, because you have casuals. So anyway, Captain Laserhawk.
Okay.
Let me open it.
When did it come out?
Naked guy. Other naked guy.
Okay.
Big butt stuff. Explosions. And then a bunch of random Ubisoft cameos.
Okay.
Rayman is the weatherman. There's an Assassin's Creed frog. I don't know. It's just a whole bunch of nonsense. But overall,
this?
it's pretty good anime.
Is it? Like, okay, so when did it come out and what is it actually about?
It came out in 2023. And
Okay.
it is a revenge plot because the guy got fucked over by his gay lover, thrown in jail, and then teamed up with Rayman to take down the establishment.
Okay, is this on Crunchyroll? I might need to watch it.
It's on Netflix.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's probably why I never heard of it, because Netflix is terrible at promoting their anime.
Essentially an Ubisoft anime.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, Rayman, there's an Assassin's Creed frog, there's a bunch of just other cameos from across the Ubisoft verse.
So is it like an actual thing, or is it just like an ad for their video games?
No, it's a real show.
Okay.
It's a whole real show. It's just weird that it starts off with two gay guys fucking and then explosions and
As a Fujoshi, I feel like I'm doing a disservice by not watching this.
I think you would like it. The main guy is like some weird Mexican twink. And then his gay lover is like this big burly bear type dude.
I see why you like the shows.
And throughout the entirety of the show, it's kind of cool because it does play into the video game aspect. So it goes into 3D animation, then it goes into pixel art animation, then it goes into all different sorts of animation throughout the year depicting different video game genres.
Okay.
Okay, what is this series called again?
It's called Captain Laserhawk, a Blood Dragon remix. It's pretty short. I think it was in the ballpark of like 8 to 10 episodes. If you haven't seen it, it's pretty good. Rayman goes through this whole character thing where he's the face of the news and the planet. And then he gets fucked over by the establishment and becomes a drunk and then takes a rocket launcher and goes and blows everyone up and shoots everybody with Uzis.
Respect.
It sounds weird.
Yeah, it
But
does.
it is a hell of a show.
I feel like Netflix anime where it's like it's either Devilman Crybaby or Cyberpunk Edge Runners where it's huge and all over the community, or it's like it flies completely under the radar, like Pluto, and just like no one has seen it. Because Pluto like should have been huge. It's like great animation written by the dude who wrote Monster, and then it's just like nothing because Netflix didn't promote it.
That's a shame, and I'm pulling it up right now just because now I am very intrigued. Okay, so it's a French-American animated series.
France makes a lot of anime, and they like a lot of manga. Got anything, Angie?
So one of the newer series recent series that came out was Mashle.
Is it Mashle or is it Mashal? I always thought it was Mashal.
It's Mashal. I don't know.
I don't know, because it's like, I thought that was like closer to muscle, like Mashal.
Yeah, okay. We'll go with that.
But I do like that series. I haven't finished the second season, but
I've not watched it. Opening's
it's
a banger though.
funny as fuck.
So it's pretty much just, Harry Potter fusion with One Punch Man. And I think what's really funny about it is just the fact that, in a world of magic, he doesn't technically, Mash doesn't possess any magical abilities. So in order to not be persecuted for being non-magical, they enroll him into a magical school, of course. So like Hogwarts. And
You're a muggle, Mashal.
pretty much.
You're a meathead, Mashal. Because it's like his magical power is just being fucking ripped.
Exactly. So he was trained when he was younger to you gotta up your strength and be really, really strong because this is the only way to protect yourself. So he got way too strong to the point that when he's in this school, he's pretty much using his fists to get through academics.
I think the funniest thing that sticks out to me is when they're like trying to ride brooms, like the Quidditch tip off, and then he's just like moving his legs so fast that they like propel him upwards, like he's flying like that.
Just like chuck it at such a high speed when he like jumps on it, and that's how he's flying.
Like it's so dumb, but it's so funny.
Yeah, it's if you don't care for, being too intensive, because it's not really that story intensive.
No, it's not. It's a gag comedy.
Yeah, there are some notes here, where you're talking about the ultimate wizard, who's going to be like the ultimate baddie, and the prejudice of, non-magic to magic folks. Yeah, like there are some themes in there, but for the most part it's just for fun, and I overall just enjoyed the series. So yeah, I would say give it a watch if you haven't yet. And yeah,
it's on Crunchyroll.
The song's a banger.
Yeah, everyone likes the second OP, but I like the first one better actually, because it's
the Bring Bon Bon one.
That's the second one. The first one's more like rock kind of music, like J-rock.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess let's see what else we got here, because I got a big ass list.
I got a big ass on my list. But...
You know it. I don't know. Going. Let's see. I guess we were talking about Netflix, so like Cyberpunk Edge Runners is on my list. That one was really good.
I have not seen that one yet.
Oh,
you guys
how have you
done it so much.
That's why.
Yeah.
It's nothing but a chum.
Some cream anime chum. It was animated by Trigger, I think.
Yeah, same people that did
Dungeon Meshi, Kill la Kill, The staff from Gurren Lagann back when they were Gynax. Little Witch Academia, which is also really good. That was like 2017, so it didn't make my list. But yeah, Cyberpunk Edge Runners is great. I was not expecting anything out of it because, I mean,
The video game sucked.
yeah, the game was, infamous for how dog shit it was.
Yeah. Although, that being said, I think the anime did bring a resurgence.
Yeah,
More
the
than
anime
a
did, more than a resurgence. The anime like put the game back on the map and like saved it. So it's like the anime takes place in the world of the game in Night City, but isn't connected to the story at all. So it's like, I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a cyberpunk story. The main character is like a teenager who gets his hand on some like biotech that's like really dangerous, and then he falls in with a group of criminals and bad shit happens and blah, blah, blah. It's really good. I mean, the animation's great. There's like good action, good characters. You feel like shit by the end of it because like bad things happen to them, which is great.
Since it's not interconnected to the game, they can pretty much
It's a
do away
standalone.
with everything.
Yeah, they did basically whatever they wanted, and it worked really well. Highly recommend. Really good. On Netflix, only 10 episodes too. So pretty quick watch. Yeah, I mean, it was really big in the community for a while, probably still is. So, Caesar, what you got next?
Well, if we're staying on the Netflix train, then I will go ahead and say Arcane. I, for one, am not a LoL player. Can't get into it. Never have. I've tried Smite, I've tried LoL, I've tried Dota. All terrible games. And all the gamers that play, they're... Alright, let's not get into it. Anyway, animation-wise, great. Story-wise, great. Jinx, wanna fuck her. V, maybe both at the same time. I don't know. I'm in system wins back. But let's go.
I don't even know who this character is. Do I have to-
Jinx or V?
Either of them. I don't play LoL. Never got into it. I had a friend who was, and it like destroyed his life for a few
If you
years.
look up Jinx, you'll know her instantly because she's everywhere online. Everyone wants to cosplay her because she's basically the Harley Quinn of the verse.
Pulling up in. Oh, okay. Yep. Yeah. Well, she's the one that's like on the cover.
Mhm.
Okay.
But overall, the story's really good. You go through it's basically a found family type show, and as it goes along, you can see that due to certain events, the family breaks apart, gets back together, and since so much time has passed, it's pretty much them trying to reconcile, but shit doesn't always go the way you want it to.
Yeah, never does. I mean, the best stories are like that. I mean, you've got like the shitty isekai where everything goes great all the time, and it's just boring as fuck.
Yeah.
And I added another member to my harem, and everyone clapped because I'm so awesome. There was literally an isekai that was like that came out, I think, last year or the year before. I can't remember what it was called.
I feel like there's so many of those.
There are, but there was one where it was like literally everyone clapped multiple times. It was so funny when someone posted a clip of it. It's like, oh, you used to be ugly, but now you're like good looking and like smart, and like, you defeated these bullies and everyone's gonna clap. It's like, oh my god. You're like loser wish fulfillment.
Mushoku Tensei.
I mean, like Mushoku, like I'm not a huge fan of it, but at least it's like well done. Like the animation is good and the world building is good, and some of the characters are good.
I recently learned this when doing the research. Pretty much all of Konosuba is taking jabs at Mushoku Tensei because it came out first.
Yep.
And most of our isekai tropes come from Mushoku Tensei.
Sort of. So Mushoku started in, I think, 2016. I don't know, maybe a little earlier, maybe. But it was one of the first big reincarnation manga / light novels. Light novels, I think it started with. There's also a web novel. I don't know. But yeah, it was one of the first big ones, which is why there are no like deconstruction of the tropes or anything. And then Konosuba was parodying that. But there were other ones too that Konosuba was parodying.
Mushoku Tensei is on my list. It is a good anime. If you can get past all the Rudius perverted stuff.
I mean, like, I normally Dragon Maid is one of my favorite anime. I don't like Rudius.
I don't like Mineta from My Hero Academia, the greatest character of all time.
It's like he's worse than Mineta because like Mineta, like I mean, it's
Mineta
a
doesn't get
dated
away
and
with it.
shitty
Yeah.
joke, but it's still a joke. Like Rudius is not joking when he's talking about all the shit that he wants to do. It's like I don't know. The rest of the show like has some really good parts in it, and it's just like some of it, like every once in a while, I was like, oh yeah, that's why I don't really love this show.
Yeah, Rudy is hard to like as a main character for sure.
Yeah.
At points.
And it's like people always try to sell it as like a redemption story, but we're 2 seasons in. I don't think he's done much of anything to redeem himself. It's just like, you know, he works hard and that validates all of his vices. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's like the only thing that changed. It's like, oh, he's grooming these kids. And it's like, yeah, but they're adults now, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, oh, if I could let that pass, be like, don't worry, guys.
I don't know. It's like I got mixed feelings on it because the rest of it's like really well done by Studio Bind, which was formed like for this show. Like that's their whole thing. So I don't know. It's a hot topic in the community and will be because they're doing like a full adaptation of it. Yeah, so it'll probably wind up being I think 6 or 7 seasons. I think
Probably. I know that it gets really convoluted in the light novels, so we'll see how well they can actually adapt it.
Mhm.
It does a lot of back and forth, future past, alternate reality, and stuff like that. So.
It's like I still need to finish the 2nd season because like I put it on hold after like one of the things. It's like this character is having like an emotional breakdown, and it's like I like that part is well done, and then something that the other characters do. I was like, you fucking kidding me? Like, it's like one of the characters is like basically having a lot of sex to assert dominance. It's like if it weren't like juxtaposed with like the very serious emotional stuff, it would be funny. But it's just not. So yeah, Mushoku is just like mixed feelings all the way down. I don't know what else you got, Angie.
Well, I was saying since you guys are kind of going on the trend of Netflix, a recent more popular one, Dungeon Meshi. So
Oh, I fucking love Dungeon Meshi.
Yeah.
It's so great. It's like my girlfriend who's sitting over there and trying not to pay attention to us because we're dumb. Like I was like, no, you should watch this. She's like, that sounds kind of, and then she wound up really liking it, and it was just like we were excited to watch it every week because it's so good.
Same thing with my husband. It was because there's a couple of series that he's watched with me that he's gotten into. And some that he like watched the first episode and just was like, all right, lost interest, went to the other room, play video games or whatever. And this is one of the ones where like he's relatively been enjoying it. He just kind of sees it as like, even though he's not a big role playing person. That can sound weird, but you know what I mean. Like, like D&D and Pathfinder and all that stuff. Like, he's pretty good strategy. Getting off topic here, but it's never been something he's played before until like we got together. So, Dungeon Meshi is very similar to, for him it feels like it's natural where it's like just a group of people.
Dungeon crawling.
Yeah, just dungeon crawling, getting to know each other. But then it does also beg the question of like, what happens when you don't have any supplies? Or
like where do you take a shit in the dungeon?
Yeah. So in this case, it's like, well, we don't have money for food or we can't go to a restaurant down in these dungeons. We're just going to have to kill animals and eat them.
Yep. Love that. I love how well thought out it is, and the world building really works on like every level.
Yes.
It's like it would not work if they didn't like put that much effort into it.
No, and I agree, and I actually enjoy it. And then each character, it's all like a different race with different abilities, different skill sets, and they get to play off of each other. And I just love Senshi.
Everyone loves Senshi. Senshi wants you to eat a good meal.
Yes, he does.
And I love how like the majority of the fan service is Senshi panty shots. It's just hilarious.
It's the anime's fault. Like, they put so many hand shots in the
It's so
anime.
funny though.
Like, unnecessarily amount of hand
I do
shots.
also love. I mean, I love Marcel. You know me. I love elf girls.
We
But
got
like
two
I,
elf
She
girls in
actually
the same
annoys me.
season.
yeah,
We got
Mhm.
Frieren and Marcel.
Yeah, they're great. But I love how they were like constantly like changing her hairstyle. It was just like a cool little detail.
Yes.
It's like they're like the animation was really good. Like it was more like character animation, which is something Trigger doesn't usually do because they're all about the big action. But it worked really well for this.
And if you've also like read the manga or anything like that, I like when they did the whole like when they had was it the like changeling mushroom where it like changes.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah.
was a cool episode or 2 episodes, couple episodes.
Yeah,
I
it was a
don't know.
couple
Yeah,
episodes.
they had that like in the anime, but like even in the manga too. Or there's if you ever read the manga, there's kind of like a little like matrix of like each character if they were a different race and stuff. And I still have to say like was it like halfling sentry is just so freaking adorable. Just so cute.
I need to find that again.
Yeah, and in the anime when he's an elf, it's just hilarious. Like,
Yeah.
the roses and everything. Where it's
It's
just like,
great.
I mean, I think is that they kind of have it written or explained that Senshi is technically attractive, in all forms. Even,
I think the mangaka has said that like Senshi is like her ideal man.
I mean,
Okay.
Yeah.
I would agree with her,
But yeah, it's a great show. I can't wait for the next season.
And it gets awfully dark for what you think it is.
Yes, I love that.
Really dark towards the later half of
Yep.
the first season.
What is it with like dungeon anime doing that? So like, okay, I know it's kind of stretching our like
You're gonna say Made in Abyss, aren't you?
yes, I'm gonna say Made in Abyss. It's because the first season came out in 2017, second season or the movie came out 2018, 2019, I think. And second season came out 2022. So it's like it's fairly recent. Fucking love Made in Abyss. Also have problems with it, but like it's like the world building is so good. The setting is like unique and weird and dark, and it's like it has this way of like at the beginning it kind of lulls you into thinking it's like a childish fantasy and then like very quickly pulls the rug out from under you and like oh this is like crazy dangerous and violent and it's like there are parts of it that are just like ridiculously fucked up but it works so well and there are some really like emotional parts. It's one of those series where like if you're not familiar with it you truly have no idea where it's going. Once you get down, every layer that you go down is just like it gets weirder and less predictable and there's always something new and fucked up to discover. And there's just some really creative ideas that I was like, I could never come up with that in a million years. It was just, and it's so good. The animation is great. The monster design in particular, I love the way they do it, where they don't use hard outlines for the monsters, so it just makes them look weirder. And just like the way, so going back to like my obsession with Yu-Gi-Oh, loved the show, collected the cards, I was one of those kids, but I always loved like the monster cards more than anything else because I love the designs. And it's like I could never draw that well, but Made in Abyss kind of fulfills that a bit as an adult. So it's just like a really good show. Kind of hard to watch right now actually because like they took it off the first season off High Dive and then they took it off like regular Prime. You need to pay extra for it. So we wound up sailing the high seas for the last few episodes. But if you can find it, yo ho ho, highly recommend. I will say there are parts of it that are kind of off-putting, especially in the manga, because like in sort of a Mushoku Tensei kind of way, where like mangaka is a bit of a creep. So it's like there's a bit of overemphasis on certain things, and the main characters are like 12 and they're like drawn like pretty childish and cutesy, which like works for the horror parts where it's like it's a great contrast between like the cutesy like art style and like what happens to the characters, which is just like pretty fucked up. But yeah, so it's one of those like mixed bags like Mushoku Tensei, but it actually really works for me because I can get past that. and the show's just so good. There's going to be a third season, but the manga is really slow releasing, so we'll see when that happens.
I was say, don't they have not like too familiar with the anime itself, but I was saying the manga only have like a couple of volumes, maybe like.
There are like 60 chapters, I think. The chapters are pretty long too, and there's like a lot of stuff that's like, I think they have like additional stuff like in the Tankobon series, like you know how you know how One Piece has like the cover stories. There, I think Made in Abyss has like a bunch of like extra stuff that's like details about things that you don't see directly in the story. Um, but yeah, so like the second season ends like they're pretty far down, and they still need to keep going downward for reasons. But there's only like maybe like 7 or 8 chapters after it, like right now. So it'll be a while.
What did I say? Well, if anyone ever tries to make the argument, well, anime is just cartoons and cartoons are for kids, you'd be like, here, watch this.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those where it's like it falls under like the edgy category. Like, back when we were just starting to watch anime, it was like Elfen Lied or like Mirai Nikki Future Diary, like one of those edgy ones. Except like this one isn't edgy for edgy's sake. It's like actually done really well. But yeah, it's definitely one of those where it's like cartoons are not just for kids.
Well, it's like I'm not gonna like necessarily. I'll probably mention this. It's an older one, but like Madoka Magica, where like it's got that same vibe. It's cutesy and
and by the third episode, you lose your head.
You're like, holy shit!
It's like, ooh, did that just happen?
Yeah, I mean that that is a good series and its own.
It is,
but,
yeah.
If we're gonna mention anything where it's got like a cute facade.
Yep, that's definitely
actually really good. That's another one. But anyways, continue.
I think that's all I've got for Made in Abyss. If you wanna pick another one.
Let's see. Should we stay on the racy thing or should we go somewhere else?
Up to you.
So in the spirit of the episode, but not necessarily on the theme of the episode, but not necessarily in the spirit of it, Bleach 1,000-Year Blood War arc. It came back after 10 years.
I mean, we talked about it last time, and like it's an old series. I don't think that really counts.
But it came back after 10 years.
Yeah, but like I'm not talking about One Piece because like it's currently airing. Yeah, and Bleach has been around forever.
Fine.
Well, what was I going to say? In your opinion, because I stopped after the first season because I just didn't really care for second season.
Excuse me, the second season is the best season of Bleach. Absolutely the best season of Bleach.
I don't know. I couldn't keep going at it. But
anyways. Murder Hobo. You've got the.
I mean, I do like my murder hobos.
Fair enough. What's your thoughts on should I go back to starting from the beginning all the way through?
Just watch all of them, including all the shit filler.
Yeah, including all the shit filler, especially the Aladdin one. It's hard to recommend Bleach like it's hard to recommend One Piece. It's too long, and if you didn't watch it or read it as it was happening, it's not worth it.
See, and I read it, which, that's not an issue for me. My thing is just sometimes I can get lost in filler, and then I'll just drop a series.
Bleach is the worst filler.
And that's the thing. I'm willing to give it a second chance since I dropped it years ago. So, and there are some things that I've been rewatching lately. Then I'm like, okay, it's not too bad. Like One Piece. I mean, for me, it's such a slow burn, but I don't mind having it on in the background and stuff like that.
Right, well, since that choice is going to get cut, I'm going to say Fate. Hold on. I already forgot the whole name of it. I just typed in the main part. Fate Grand Order Babylonia.
I mean, that's another long series that's just like.
Okay, but Fate is each one is
it's
individual.
Its own thing, right?
Yeah.
Babylonia wasn't made by Ufotable. It's actually by a different company.
Wasn't that one Studio Shaft?
Possibly.
I know one of them was made by Shaft.
Then it was Babylonia because it wasn't made by Ufotable. The Fate Granddaughter Babylonia, in terms of animation, you wouldn't think it wasn't Ufotable because it's so good animation wise. The story is actually pretty good on like most of the Fate series, in my opinion. And we got some Mexican representation in it. We got Quetzalcoatl as one
Since
of
when
the
do you give a shit
main.
about representation?
Correct.
Caesar, you're Mexican?
Oh, what? My skin's not brown, I swear. No, Frick Grand Order was actually super, super good. And yeah, I mean, I've always liked history, so I've always liked the Fate series just because of all the historical figures in the anime. And we didn't really bring up Fate in the last episode.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been able to get into Fate. Like,
it's hard to, and you don't even know where to start sometimes.
it's like I've tried starting Zero multiple times because, like, I like the guy who wrote the series, but it's just like can't get into the characters or like the setup of the story.
I will say, side note, thinking about Fate, I always think about Giga's little video where he talks about like how, which...
It's Prisma Ilia. It's like, it's got the lesbian lolis, and it's like, oh, I'm going to want to watch that.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to watch that. It's got lesbian lolis.
See,
I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
I couldn't get into Ilia at all. I didn't like it.
All right. I'll trust your judgment. I'm never going to watch it. Like
playlist.
If you're talking like historical stuff though, most recently Apothecary Diaries. Fucking love that show. It's so good. Like this one, like Frieren's in my top 10. Apothecary's got to be in my top 20. It's so good. It was like I was not like expecting it to be as good as it was, and then just like watched the first couple episodes and it was amazing.
That was another one that you actually recommended the manga to me first, and so then I would read that and I'm like, this is really good. And then when it became an anime, I was pretty ecstatic. Overall, I think it's just animation's beautifully done. I think you haven't really watched it though, Caesar, right?
I binged all of Apothecary Diaries in 2 days.
Oh, you did? Okay.
It's so good.
I binged most of these animes on this list in like 2 days.
What unemployment does to a motherfucker. Yeah, but I mean, it's so good. I mean, like the way she solves mysteries, it's like very Sherlock Holmes, and like the Chinese court setting. I mean, it's not like officially Chinese because it can't be, because like China would get pissed about that, but it's China.
Yeah, no.
But it's so good. I love the setup and the setting.
I like the fact that she thinks that guy's a eunuch when he's clearly not a eunuch.
Yeah. Oh, it's so great.
And the fact that him and his mom, spoilers, look like freaking twins, and yet everyone's like, huh, why do they look familiar? It's like, yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, obviously...
Well, I mean, part of it is like the inner palace is like locked away from basically everyone.
Yeah, so but I mean, like servants and stuff like that. Like even, Mao Mao like notices it.
I mean, but
there's doesn't seem to connect the dots.
There's also the fact that like he's supposed to be the emperor's younger brother. Yeah, so it's like
but I mean that would make more sense for him to look more like,
the emperor. Yeah, I guess so.
As opposed to, this concubine or former concubine, spoiler alerts. So like that's for me, it was just kind of one of those like, oh come on guys. But I mean, I get what you're saying. Like it's not like the rest of the world can see them. They're hidden in separate quarters and stuff like that.
But it's like Mao Mao also like talks about it, like, or at least that sort of thing where it's like you don't make those sort of assumptions because you could lose your head over it.
True, and that's why one of the ways that I kind of enjoy this series is that she's not outright saying these assumptions.
Yeah.
She tries to like hint at them
so other people can come to their own conclusions, so she's not like held responsible for it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love all the like subtle detail and like the way they like build the story. It's just great. And I mean, the best part has got to be just Mao Mao herself. She's like a great protagonist, one of the best written female protagonists I've seen in a long time. And she's just such a lovable gremlin of a character.
Yeah, I'll have to admit she's adorable. But yeah, and like the further you more find out about her character and her family and all that, like man, that's tragic. But
I will have to say that I did call like the one dude not actually being a bad guy. I was like, I don't think they're gonna. Yeah, it's like, well, a couple of the people I was watching it
The
with were like,
general?
yeah,
Without, yeah.
yeah, and it's like they're like, oh, what a scumbag. And I'm like, I think there's more to this story.
oh yeah, I knew like I mean there's some things you can pick up when
Yeah.
reading where you're like, yeah, this guy's not that this is all based off of circumstances.
Mhm.
And I mean I think that's kind of what this whole series is about. It's like everyone's life surrounding themselves based off of circumstances. I mean you'll talk about the concubines. It's not like they can freely, fall in love with individuals. They're mostly there for power, or they're even usually brought there by their own families, and they just have to try to find ways to
Yeah,
survive.
or like Mao Mao was literally kidnapped and shipped off.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But you would think a certain person within the show would have issues with that, the way that he's depicted.
I mean, like the way they sort of addressed it, like at a couple different points. Like once the other ladies in waiting found out, they like did certain things to sort of retaliate against them.
Yes, but I mean, when he found out her situation within the palace, you would think he would have done something to better her position.
I mean, he
Slightly,
kind of did. Like, I mean, he helped her out a lot.
I guess, in a way.
more.
He could have done more in his position.
True.
Until
I don't know. We're
the
getting like
system.
really far into
Yeah.
detail. I think that should just like say, how good of a series this is that like, we can like
We
talk about it for
recommend
so
it.
long. Angie, what else you got? Honda-san?
Skullface Honda-san. I would say very random series. And really what I like about this series is just because I like a lot of like random like one season, one shot stuff. This one's like a 12 episode series. I think Caesar, you also might have watched some of it. And it's just the experience of this mangaka when he used to work at a bookstore. And it looks visually silly because everyone's got, in order to censor who this person was representing or who Honda was referring to, they'd all have different headpieces. One would be a jack-o'-lantern, another one would wear like a knight's armor or something like that. But it's just kind of like his everyday experiences with different sets of customers, the typical like retail issues that those who usually work customer service or retail could empathize with. And then a lot of foreigners loving to buy BL. It's apparently a big,
Yeah.
a big selling point in this. Just how Honda feels that everyone's so casual about like, do you have this series? And it's like the cover's got like two men embracing each other and they're all muscular and stuff, and he's like, he doesn't even know English, so he's like, over there, this, BL here, it's just, that anxiety of, oh God, I gotta talk to this person that I don't even know their language. It was just relatable and funny. So
Yeah, it's a good like workplace situational comedy.
yeah, and it's not very long, so and if you don't, like it or you don't feel it's relatable, then you don't have to watch all of it.
It's if you've worked in retail, you can probably relate. It's funny.
Yeah, and there's some hints talking about like how because he used to make the signs at his jobs and people like really liked his art style and that kind of encouraged him to kind of pursue manga for a career. So I don't know, it's a little lighthearted. So it's just a small thing that I recommend. But again, it's short, so there won't be a second season onward. But it's nice. I like it.
Yeah. Speaking of like characters that are human but are like not like they don't look like it. So did you ever watch Odd Taxi,
No.
Angie?
I've heard of it, but I did not actually watch it. I think you recommended me to
Yeah,
watch
I
it.
probably did. It's really good. It came out in 2021. But so basically it's like kind of a slow burn thriller Tarantino kind of plot with like crime going on. And it's like very realistic and like well written. It just so happens that all the characters are animals.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like the main character is a walrus. Otokawa. I've got him somewhere in my like office. Like I've got a little plush of him. But it's really, really well written. Like the dialogue in it's very Tarantino. So I highly recommend, and the twist at the end is just like amazing. I won't say what it is, but just like real quick recommendation right there. Watch Odd Taxi. It's great.
I like it.
Caesar, what you got?
Let's see here. Let's stay on something light. I don't know. I know you've seen it, Sam.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you've seen it, Angie, and I don't know if a lot of people have seen it. I'm essentially a animation purist and don't necessarily like CGI anime.
No.
But So I'm a Spider, So What was just so good and deserves a second season.
It's like I like sort of agree with you because like the parts of it that center around Kumiko, the spider, like the titular spider,
Yes.
are awesome.
The main character is great. The
Yeah.
side other part of her class just doesn't
Terrible.
make any sense.
It's like, yeah, because they split the story in two because that's how the light novel does it.
Mhm.
They like keep going back and forth, and it's just like half the story is just like bog standard isekai, and it's just like I don't give a fuck. But like the other part is like, you know, instead of being reincarnated as herself or as a human
Or
like-
as a hero.
or as a hero, she's just like a literal spider at the bottom of a dungeon. And she has to survive, and it's like it's really good. I mean, like the CGI is kind of shitty, but
kind
like
of.
okay, the CGI is really shitty, but it works for what it is. And like the main character, Aoyuki's voice acting is awesome. Like she hard carries that show.
Because she essentially plays 4 different characters all at once when she does.
Yeah, she has like
split mind.
split personality basically. But yeah, and it's like in her part of the story, she's the only character for most of it.
Yeah.
So it's just her and like her troubles like fighting monsters in the dungeon.
Getting stronger, using her human intellect to make houses and other essentials that a spider wouldn't need.
Yep. It's like, okay, the dungeon's not on the level of Dungeon Meshi or Made in Abyss, but it is a solid series, or at least half of it is.
She is technically at like the bottom floor of the dungeon.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I'd recommend that to someone who's looking for something like a little different than your average isekai. Oh, came out 2019. My personal favorite isekai, Sentence of a Bookworm. I love that show so
I
much.
mentioned that earlier.
It just didn't come up until now, but it's so good. Like another show, great world building, a lot of detail. So it's like main character is like reincarnated as like a sickly child in a poor family in like a, you know, like 1200-ish Germany kind of setting.
Mhm.
A really realistic one too, which
Yeah,
is really
it's honestly a great show to watch. The way that she uses all of her intellect to make her world better for herself, basically, because she's selfish.
she
essentially.
is. She's obsessed with books, and she's in a world without books. And rather than using like medical knowledge to like help people learn how to wash their hands, she's like, I'm going to make paper. And it takes like 12 episodes for her to do that, but it's so satisfying. It's so good.
She made shampoo for herself.
That's true. Yeah. That's like a great little detail, though. It's like the characters who interact with her get like the shiny shampooed hair, and everyone else has like dull hair.
But I mean, okay, so I can't lie and say I would not do that if I was in Minnie's shoes. Like,
Yeah.
I would, if I had all that knowledge, like, shit, like indoor plumbing, why not? But that kind of goes back to, and I know I'm trying back to a little bit earlier with Dungeon Meshi, where we're
Yeah.
talking about there are things in the series where you wouldn't think about.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like shampoo. It's like back in the day, they used what, eggs to wash their hair?
If at
They
all.
washed-
Yeah. Or like they just like put it in the river,
Straight
like
lie.
just water. Oh god. This is probably before lie.
Yeah. But I mean, what I'm saying
Yeah.
is like, if
It
you
couldn't
have
have
the
been too
knowledge.
much before, since there was already really established trade.
I guess so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like the intricacies. So like anyone who likes Spice and Wolf, like I mean the original with the remake airing right now, which is also really good and on my list. But like if you like Spice and Wolf and like the trade kind of stuff, you will like Ascendance of a Bookworm. It's a little bit more fantastical.
Yes, she rivals Darth Vader in force
Yeah,
powers.
Darth Mine. That scene was so great though. Yeah, it's like it's such a good show. It's like a mix of like, fantasy, slice of life, like drama, some comedy. It's really good. It's my favorite isekai for a reason.
It was really good. When I started watching it, I didn't know what to expect with the synopsis of sickly girl librarian who gets reincarnated into medieval like Europe. Wants to make a book. That's basically what the synopsis is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much more going on. There's like political drama as it goes on too, which is really good.
I just kind of going back a little bit with like her previous life before she passes away. I mean, what a way to go! Like, spoiler alerts, not really.
I mean, it's in the
But,
first 5 minutes of the
Yeah.
first
yeah,
episode.
so I'm gonna say earthquake happens, you get crushed to death by books. I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah, you would think like she might not want more books.
yeah, you think she'd have a fear of reading.
Yeah. But I mean, they like as the show goes on, like it's one of the few isekai that actually like deal with the fact that she's like dead in one world and alive in another. Like
Yeah.
there's a really emotional scene where she's like, I didn't get to say goodbye to my mom, and it's just like, oh my god, oh suffering.
That hurts. Yeah. No, and that's relatable. There's some people who never get to say goodbye to loved
But
ones.
it's like so many isekai never even like mention that, like the bullshit power fantasy ones, where it's like, oh, I'm so cool in this world now, and I get all the bitches.
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck about my loser other life?
And everyone claps their hands.
Rudius eventually has to come to terms with him losing his parents. Eventually.
I mean, I guess. I mean, like they don't really mention it in the adaptation, but like the reason he chose not to go to his mom's funeral is pretty fucking gross.
Well, let's get past the weird parts and focus on
Okay.
the emotional parts.
Okay, I mean, I guess, like if they keep animating it, which they will, I'll probably keep watching it and maybe my opinion will change.
Eventually, yes, that does happen, but eventually further on, he does come to the realization that, oh, my actual parents are dead, and I didn't do anything for them. Although they did everything for me when I was a shut-in.
Speaking of isekai, didn't you have another one on your list that you wanted to talk about?
Me, I have nothing but isekai on my list. Grand Fantasy is
Grand
the
Blue
best
Fantasy?
No.
Grand Fantasy?
Just in fantasy in general.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just didn't hear you right. A certain Civ player.
I'm trying to think which one. Let's just go with probably the best reincarnated anime that's come out in the past decade is That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime.
Other than Bookworm.
Other than it has a different vibe than Bookworm. Bookworm
Yeah,
is more
totally
realistic, while Slime is way more fantastical.
Yeah, Slime is way more fantastical, and it's like more about just like having fun, and I like that. It's I mean there are serious parts, but like
Yes.
it's like people die, but like they can come back, and it's fine.
Unlike most isekai anime, the guy's already in his 30s. He's already been established. He's not a 16-year-old high school boy. He worked as like an architect or something and got stabbed. The best thing about his former life is when he died, his final words were delete my browser history.
Yeah. That was so.
And you know what? His homie like was a G and did it for him. He just dropped everything in the water, let everything short circuit. Like I gotta give props. You know, you got a true friend and he's willing to do that. I know you guys would do that for me.
Definitely.
No, I'm leaking it. I'm leaking that. I'm leaking the chat. I'm leaking everything. We're all going down.
Post-death canceling. But it's a good show. Except for like the most recent season, where it's just like constant meetings. It's like,
But it
come
needs to
on.
be done for.
I mean, to
the
set
future.
stuff
Yeah.
up, but like, oh my god, there are ways you can do that in a story where it's not so fucking
But that's
boring.
the entire light novel that they're adapting. Is all just
Right, but there
set
are
up
ways
and-
you can do that where it's not super fucking boring. Like you, instead of having like a static shot of like everyone just sitting and talking, like you can go back and forth. You can like cut things to like, move it forward a bit faster. Like there's just things you can do. Like, I mean, let's go back to Bookworm. Like there's a ton of talking in that show, but they make it interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, she's talking to Dio. Like, if you're talking to Dio, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Fair. But also the Laura Tempest. Best character.
Yeah. Oh, he's such a himbo. I love it. I mean, I love him. I also love Malim, like because she's an idiot and it's great.
Nah, Ramis is best girl. Ramis is just
Ramirez, the little
fairy.
yeah. Oh my god, she's so funny because she's such an idiot. I love how like they're just like a group of like powerful morons, and then like the one super powerful demon lord, Guy Crimson, is just like the chaos gay.
He's married to the dragon. Or
Yeah.
he's fucking the dragon.
But he's like come on to like other male characters, just like whatever, like the other like really serious like grimdark demon lord. He's like, hey, or even Rimmer. I think he came on to at one point.
Probably at Octogram or
Yeah,
Walpurgis, whichever.
yeah. But yeah, it's a really good show. Hoping that like it speeds up a bit again. I was watching the first half of the most recent season, and then I got kind of bored, so I'll probably go back to it.
Well, I know that the next upcoming arc is going to be a giant battle arc, so that's what they're setting up for.
Oh, okay.
Essentially, it needs all this setup just so that they can get into the next major battle arc.
Okay. Well, I guess
which is going to be really pretty intense. I think you'll enjoy it.
Okay, good. Angie, what else you got?
So this one is the series that I like, Ranking of Kings.
It's like I liked that one. I just kind of had problems with how it ended.
Yeah. But I do too. But I just kind of liked how kind of going with the theme that we talked about is there's circumstances for everything, and everything's not always what is how it seems, and that's kind of how I feel in the case of Ranking of Kings, like and I think Boji's an adorable character. It's one of the few times you really get a character who doesn't really speak anything. I mean, speaks volumes and, doing hand gestures and essentially doing Japanese sign.
Naruto sign? Crafting chakra and...
Hitori Saru. Summoning jutsu. I used to know that whole thing. Yeah.
But, so he's the firstborn prince, and his father was this, like this big giant king of this area, and he was actually a child of both giants, but he was born deaf and tiny, which is completely opposite of what his parents represent, and kind of going through life with the disability of being kind of technically both a dwarf and deaf, and still wanting to lead his kingdom. And there's You feel bad for him, you know, but
I mean, I like the show a lot.
Yeah.
Like just the ending, like kind of took all the wind out the sails for me, and I kind of like it was like when I was looking at my list, I was like, should I put it on? I was like, maybe. I don't know. I do like the Shadow character and Queen Hilling. Like she's great.
Kage, yeah. Because again, it's one of those not what it seems. You know, Kage is just this, you know, part of a. He's a shadow from like a shadow clan. You know, he starts off as kind of being like a rapscallion who fools Boji into giving him all his stuff, and then he realizes, you know, Boji is willing to give the clothes on his back to help someone. And then like he starts to really respect him and become a genuine companion when he realizes this kid's a prince. He should be living the life of luxury, and yet he's not because he's both a dwarf and deaf. And then even Queen Hilling, you know, she comes off as being cold and distant, but really what she's trying to do is protect Boji.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. But you know, she knows that, you know, everyone treats him different, and you know, she's trying to do her best to, you know, lessen his troubles and his worries. So yeah, overall, I like the series. I think it's really you know, sweet. Yeah, to your point, the ending in the anime is leaves stuff to be desired. I feel. I think the manga's still running though. So
It is. I'm pretty
hopefully-
sure.
Yeah, so hopefully we get a better ending.
Hopefully. I think we may have to like end relatively soon, just because we have to go meet Michaela's friends. So maybe like one more. We could do this as like a part one, because I know I still have a bunch of stuff that like
so
could talk about.
Ish.
I've been lawyer to fly, so.
Yeah, I mean, we could. Yeah, let's do one more and then call it good for now, and call this like part one, and then we can do part two of more recent anime, because there are a bunch on my list that I'd love to talk about more.
Yeah, and I can show you what I currently have for a drawing that we can just use for the time being, and then obviously I'm going to improve on it when I have more time. But anyways, cool.
Let's see. What should I do for the last one? Should I pick something like lesser known? Yeah, let's go with that. So this is like a little outside of the like time frame, but it's still technically going. Golden Kamuy. Like it's so good. It's one of um there are some shows in anime that are just really hard to categorize because they're like all over the place, and like the main like descriptor is like batshit insane. So Golden Kamuy is one of those. So it takes place right after the Russo-Japanese War, and it's a historical show. But the plot is they're in Hokkaido, and a soldier who fought in the war is looking for gold, and then he hears this story that these prisoners were tattooed with a treasure map by a guy who stole a bunch of gold from the native Japanese people, the Ainu people. Like just a literal mountain of gold. He like killed them all and stole their gold, and he tattooed a map on these prisoners, and like they all escaped except for him. And now like everyone, all these different factions are looking for the gold. So it's basically like an adventure treasure hunt show. But what they realize as soon as they see one of the tattoos, they realize that you have to skin the person to get to put the map together.
Shit.
Yeah, it's like it's super dark, but it's also really fucking funny. Like super dark humor. And like just some weird shit. Like there's like parodies of like serial killers and other stuff, or like the criminals. But there's also like a ton of historical Japanese stuff and like culture of the Ainu people. Like it's surprisingly educational for what it is. And there's a lot of like cooking in it too. Like it's like, oh, let's hunt this deer and eat its brain, but also like just all these other dishes that they make. And it's like there's so much going on in it, but it's such a great show. And it's like it mostly flew under the radar in 2018 because like the animation was not good. Like they had some really shitty CGI when they started it out, but it just like kept getting better as it went along, and like they kept introducing more characters and going into depth into the ones they had, and it just kept getting better and better and better as it went on. And it's actually about to finish, I think. I think they only have like half a season, or well, like 12 episodes probably they'll finish it out. But it's so good.
Hmm.
It's like, and it's super gory and violent, but also like then you have like the cooking scenes and you're like, man, I'm hungry now. And so fun. There's so many laugh out loud moments. Like this one dude towards the end, like aggressively jerking off to like try and find another serial killer who's also aggressively jerking off.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are a ton of like man service scenes too, Caesar.
Okay, so it's got two things we like, Caesar. So it's got both history and, dudes.
I'm not allowed to like history, because apparently that's gay.
But it's such a good show. Like,
Listen, you opened the episode with Captain Laserhawk. Like,
yeah. I feel like you set this tone.
It's just a very unfortunate opening to the anime, because the anime itself is actually pretty good.
Yeah. So I guess when I upload this eventually, I'll put a list like in the description with all the ones we talked about. If I'm feeling ambitious, I'll put where you can stream them if we didn't talk about it.
Most of them, a good chunk of them are Netflix and Crunchy.
yeah.
Except for Made in Abyss,
Yeah,
I think is
it's
the
the
big
only
one.
That's like high dive, right?
Yeah.
Or was high dive.
It was the first season. You may have to sail the seas or pay premium for Amazon, which is bullshit.
Put in
But
parentheses, yo.
yeah. So there are still like a ton that I would like really love that haven't talked about. So we can come back and do this topic again because I thought it was pretty fun.
I know
Yeah.
I have stuff that you guys wouldn't necessarily. Well, you probably like some, but there's other shows on here that I know neither of you would watch.
I mean, I'm always curious about that sort of thing, like looking to broaden my horizons.
I was gonna say Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai.
Yeah, I have that.
I-
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, or did you have Shimonetta?
I have that list too.
Shimoneta's not recent enough, I don't think.
No.
It's 2015.
I would say it's like 2014, 2015, but still, they're
You know, like Konosuba,
also
Danmachi. Those are all older. But
Yeah.
still,
running.
it's further than the golden age.
Yeah.
I guess
Kinda the
like
in-between.
streaming age,
Yeah.
essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But also to that point, like if you're into, I know you're kind of into more like social, political or socioeconomical stuff. Like Shimonetta is a good one where it's goofy,
Yes.
but it also
It does
talks
have
about
like
It's all
the
about that.
social problems in Japan and like
Yeah.
repressed sexuality and all that.
yeah.
We should do like an entire episode on ecchi. That'd be fun.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. All right. So on that note, we are done.